Good morning. It is 9:54 a.m. on Tuesday, December 29th, 2020. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. Rocket and I had an excellent sleeping in session where, we had initially gotten up to go outside. He got some breakfast and then we went back to bed and just cuddled and slept, and it was very comfortable and nice and enjoyable. Uh, I'm still a little woozy just from, the, you know, my body is not used to having such an irregular sleep routine. But, I'm having some caffeine. It's going to work. Actually, that's probably what it is. It's just that because I slept in, I'm past my normal routine schedule for when I have some caffeine. Working on that. So, yesterday, in addition to doing some more prep for So Many Levels, we are having an episode tonight. I also watched The Godfather, Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone. And so, if you're not aware, what this is a recent re-edit of The Godfather Part 3 by Francis Ford Coppola, the original, writer-director. Now, it occurs to me I actually should have pulled this up before I started the video. But, there we go. So I'm pulling up the differences between Godfather Part 3 and the Coda. And the reason that I needed to pull that up is because here's like one of those little movie confessionals that for a long time, I remember being in college and everything and having it be like this point of shame anytime someone wanted to talk about a movie that I hadn't seen yet. And I would always there would be an instinct to want to try to lie and say I had seen movies like that. But, but so Godfather Part 3 is a movie I had never seen. And, people, it's not like a lot of people had said, oh no, you have to see that one. I mean, it's not got the best reputation after all, but it just felt like, as a cinema literacy sort of thing, it felt like something I ought to have seen. Well, I decided to finally watch it, and I watched this new version. But part of the fact that I had never seen the other one means that I can't really offer a meaningful comparison between the two versions. So I was kind of just pulling up real quick a list of what the differences are. So apparently it's 4 minutes shorter. And let's see. Apparently a lot of them are like slight prunings, wherein scenes commence midway and cut off earlier, granting a better momentum to the plot and the film as a whole. The opening sequence is different. That makes it a little bit more like the opening of the first one, I guess. So apparently the original version opens with with Michael's abandoned Lake Tahoe Vegas compound and the presence of Mary Antony in the papal commendation ceremony. Instead, this one opens with Michael and the Archbishop and beginning their plan. And that scene, I guess, was much further into the movie before. Which I think, makes sense to me here in the sense that in the version I watched, like that's kind of the through line through the movie is it's the parallel to Michael's own emotional state is the idea that he's just trying to do all of this, take the business legitimate sort of thing, but he's finding it impossible to entirely leave behind, the violent parts of how he got where he is. Which I think that there's actually a fair moral consideration there, and just to say that, not that if you've done bad things, you are doomed to always do bad things and you shouldn't try to do better. But when when your self-internal argument is that you're trying to do better, but you're doing it with all the ill-gotten gains from your bad stuff, and also legal and legitimate is not necessarily the same as morally good. But in any event, it seems like it frames the whole movie more around that whole plot thread. Uh, um, Instead of, I guess, spending a lot of time before really even introducing that whole plot line. Um, yeah, and then let's see, alterations in the final ending shot. Um, let's see. Um, okay. So apparently the original version ends with. Wait, hang on. Hmm. Okay, yeah, I'm a little bit unclear with some of the way that's described. It's talking about the ending. I don't know. Yeah, so at least in this like preliminary way that I'm trying to scan this article, it's unclear to me what exactly it's trying to say about the ending shot. Um, but yeah, I think what's interesting is that it's not so in Godfather Coda, it's not obvious that Michael actually does die, which gives irony to the subtitle of the Godfather Coda, the death of Michael Corleone, right? Well, I think that like the irony of it is that they don't show him literally die, but the point is that like everything about who he actually was is essentially taken away, and he's really just like this sad old man now. Um, and like that's the point, right? So like that's the death of Michael Corleone, and now it's just that sort of thing, I think. But anyway, I mean, like I didn't hate it. There's definitely things like it's not as good as the first two, and I say that as someone who's not especially a Godfather fan. Like I can absolutely admire and respect the first two Godfather movies as being, um, you know, very good cinematic achievements. They're well-made films. Obviously, they've had a lasting and powerful influence on lots of people and cinema in general, but they're just not my favorite personally. And so that's another reason that I wasn't necessarily excited when people were saying, "Oh yeah, and part 3 is not as good." It's like, "Oh, well, all right." But at the same time, what I will say is, given that some of my objections, the things that I don't like as much in the first two movies, is that I don't especially like Michael, and I don't want to see him succeed really. And so the idea of like I'm spending time following this guy I feel like is not a good guy, and so having him reach his end here actually does give me a little bit of closure. Hmm. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.